Hey, this is Dr. Chad Kish. Welcome to Module 9, Tuesday, November 28th. This is the virtual lecture for day 2 of 2, but this is the first day of the virtual lecture for Module 9. We're in Unit 3, and this is the last lecture portion of Unit 3. We're in Module 9, Professional and Career-Related Assessments. Thanks for joining us for the virtual lecture. I know we've had some technical difficulties. Had to transition this to a upgraded presentation and export it as a movie file. Hopefully we can get this going correctly. So you should be able to here in Module 9 for this virtual lecture. Remember, there's no class meeting on Tuesday, November 28th. You're going to do this virtual lecture instead. You can do it anytime, but the journal activity is due by the end of the day, 8 p.m. on Tuesday. You will open the PowerPoint or watch the movie file. If you do the PowerPoint, you should try to listen to the audio files, trying some new methods, so we'll see which one works better here. Read the slides, listen to the audio, and take notes as you go. So I'll explain the journal activity on the next slide. Pay close attention to that. You want to do the journal activity as you listen to the audio files. So there's a couple different options. Try to download the virtual lecture file. If this one works, it's an MP4 video file. It'll play just like a movie. You can start it, stop it, pause it, rewind it. Each slide has audio file recorded and embedded into the slide. So it'll talk to you on the slide, and then it'll advance when that audio file ends to the next slide. So the entire presentation is exported into one file. So it's not actually going to open into a PowerPoint file. It's going to be like a movie, and it'll just auto advance just like it was at a lecture. When I get done with one slide, it'll move to the next. I'm also going to try to upload the PowerPoint file. I'll try to do it with the audio enabled in there. I'm having some size issues getting different files into Canvas. So we'll try to have that. It may or may not have audio embedded files into that version, but I'll at least get the PowerPoint file without audio up and running as well. So if I do have the audio files in the PowerPoints, you can either go to the top and hit slideshow and hit play from beginning or play from current slide, and it'll play, and then when it gets done it should auto play the next one. Depends on how you have your setups in your PowerPoint viewer, and then you can stop it, pause it, rewind it, or you can go slide by slide, and there's a little gray speaker icon. When you click on it, a little arrow will come up and you can play it and rewind it within the slide, but then you'll have to advance to the next slide and click the speaker icon and click play again. But while you're doing this, first thing you should do is go to the journal activity for Module 9 in Canvas, and you need to copy and paste the Module 9 journal activity questions. There's 10 of them into like a Word document or whatever word processor you use. And then you should follow along, and these are your 10 points you would take as notes while you're watching the presentation. So you're going to actively take notes as you go through the presentation. What are the 3 areas that employees use workplace assessments? That'll be your first question. I try to put them in order. They're not tricky. All right, so complete the journal activity. Give me good detailed college level notes. Make sure they're factually correct answers to the question. It's not going to be stuff on the books. You could use the book to supplement it. It's going to be stuff out of the presentation. Hopefully you can get to the audio files, because most of the stuff's going to be off of the slides, but there's going to be a couple things I ask you that are really detailed more in what I talk about. That's going to be due Tuesday, November 28th at 8 p.m. So make sure you're doing this journal activity along with the presentation. Like I said, it's just like taking notes. So our objectives for Module 9. By the end of today's virtual lecture, you should be able to do the following things: discuss, compare, investigate various career-related assessments. That would be selection, evaluation, and certification type assessments that would be used in the career or workplace. Next would be discuss, interpret, and analyze various psychological-based assessments, personality types, leadership styles, etc. As you can see, these are the ones that are connected to various Missouri teaching standards and Lincoln University health and wellness standards that are noted after each one. And then analyze and critique your personal leadership style by completing the Leadership Compass assessment. Now, we did those first 3 previously in Module 9 before the holiday break. So what we're going to do upcoming are the ones in purple and pink today, and then you will do the final one in blue over the next several class periods. So today we will discuss, investigate, and construct various common workplace assessments, such as risk assessments, business impact analysis, a SWOT analysis, follow that up with a gap analysis, and we'll discuss how to use various checklists in the workplace. That's connected to MTS standards 7 and 8. 7 is assessment, 8 is professionalism, and Lincoln University Health and Wellness Standards 7 and 8, as well as 4, which is critical thinking. We'll discuss, analyze, and design various assessments used in the process of employee evaluation. We will do that in our assignment to apply all of our learning for this module. That's kind of the culminating assignment just for Module 9. And then we will follow that up this Thursday in your lab, so make sure you come to class at 1 p.m. on Thursday, November 30th, as well as next Tuesday. We do have in-class guest assessors to do your assessment lab, so make sure you're in class 1 p.m. Thursday dressed for an activity lab, and then next Tuesday at 1 p.m. in the classroom as well, but it'll be more of a note-taking lab, so bring something to note that with for the athletic trainer. But you'll participate in, summarize, cite evidence from, analyze, and synthesize information from various assessment labs. We'll do the Iowa Brace Motor Perception Lab on Thursday of this week, and an athletic training lab to learn all kinds of assessments used for the career field of athletic training. And those can also be used in physical therapy, personal training, just injury assessment, and those will be done by the head athletic trainer, Josh Thompson, here for Lincoln. So those are our Module 9 objectives. As normal, the big ideas align right there with the objectives. We'll start talking about workplace assessments. We'll start off with discussing checklists and how you'll use a variety of different checklists and construct those to use in different parts of the workplace. We'll talk about different ways you can use things to ensure your workplace is safe, like a risk assessment, or how you might use a business impact analysis to make some different decisions or to make sure that your employees as well as your visitors are safe, or determine if you want to take on some different things, what adding a new field or a new program might do, how that might impact your business. Might also be used in the budgeting process. We'll talk about a SWOT, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We'll talk about a SWOT analysis, and then a gap analysis is usually used right along with the SWOT analysis to determine how you're going to overcome some of those weaknesses and threats. We'll also dig into employee evaluations. We'll talk about annual performance reviews, how you might use the process of a self-evaluation, how you tie in supervisor evaluations. The whole idea of employee evaluation should be on continuous improvement and then developing professional development plans or training programs to overcome people's weaknesses. But we'll also talk about how employee evaluations, the data can be used for bonuses, putting people in work groups, developing opportunities to overcome weaknesses. And then we'll finalize that with developing an annual review. So we'll take all of our information and put that together. We'll remind you what's on the Unit 3 exam, which will be Module 8 and Module 9, and we'll give you information on that. And then we'll kind of remind you what's coming up with your assessment labs, and we'll wrap up Module 9. So we'll start with workplace assessments. First thing you need to realize is there's all kinds of areas we can use workplace assessments. We might use it in a different type in determining how we're going to develop our budget, and a budget is just an estimate of how you're going to spend money, because things are always going to change. Your needs are going to change, costs are going to change. We might use assessments to determine what our target market might be, what programming we might use, what promotional tools we might do, how we evaluate employees, how we determine where we might want to focus our attention, and if we want to build or add on to our facility. So there's all kinds of places we can use assessments, and then we also have to understand how to analyze that data to make it usable to help us make decisions. So really, assessments are used in the workplace to help us make informed decisions, and that is called data-driven decision making. And that's a critical skill for any type of leader, manager, or supervisor. When we talk about workplace assessments, first thing we need to think about is how many employees are assessed in the workplace every year. So when we talk about professional employees, those are career-related employees, employees that might have to have a certificate, a license, full-time employees that probably have a degree. So career position employees, 60% of those employees are assessed in the workplace at least one time a year, and most of those are evaluated somewhat regularly. Where workplace assessments used? Here are the three areas. They're used hiring, to make sure we hire the right people that have the right knowledge, skills, and abilities. We want to make sure that that they are able to do the job, that if they're missing one of the pieces of knowledge, skills, or abilities, that we can then go to step 2 and provide them training. And we want to get them in the right place and make sure they have the right credentials if it's a career field or position that requires a license. Part 2 is as a basis for training. We might need to train people when they first get to the job. Most places do have an induction and onboarding to train them for how you do things in your organization, to maybe train them, because they're new to the job or new to the position or career field. But when you want to improve their knowledge, skills, and abilities, and then when you do the evaluation, you want to find where their weaknesses are or where their gaps in their KSAs are and provide some training to improve those or fill in the gaps. And then number 3 is for evaluations, and evaluations can be a basis for training, or they can provide promotions, bonuses, find where their strengths are so we can put them in positions where they're really good, where we can accentuate their strengths and bring those out to help our business be successful or our organization be better. People are usually enjoy being in areas where their strengths are and they're more passionate and find their job more enjoyable. Or we can look for areas of weakness, try to keep them away from that, as well as devise some training or some professional development to help them overcome their weaknesses and improve on them. So if assessments are designed very well, you have to actually look at the right things. You can't have an assessment that looks for things that you don't really do on the job. You have to assess the most critical elements, and that's why we always focus on those critical elements when we are designing scoring guides. So you want to design those assessments well, implement them correctly. You want to do them systematically over time. You don't want to do one shot. You want to do different ones. You want to do observations. We'll talk about it. You want to have the employee do some kind of self-assessment. You want to do the supervisor assessment. You want to have multiple supervisors look at them. They can be a great component, a critical component for the organization to determine success, find strengths, put people in the right places to be successful, help them hire, train, retain. That means keep people there where they don't want to leave because they're in the right spot, and then retrain to get people more professionally developed to do their job even better, all their employees. So continuing with workplace assessments. Assessments can help place the right people in the right roles within an organization. So that starts in the hiring process. That's why we do those personality tests, those leadership tests, try to find the people's knowledge, skills, and abilities to try to get them in the right place. If they have a gap somewhere, we want to provide them immediate training to get them ready to go in an area. But we want to get them in the right roles and then make sure that they're ready to go if they're not, and we provide a basis for training. So if we have people in the right role within our organization, it can lead to lower employee turnover. People don't leave the organization because if they come in and they don't have the skills or abilities, they're not very confident, they're not happy in their job, they usually don't perform. So if they're in the wrong roles, that's what happens. If they're in the right roles, it usually increases employee loyalty. They're happy. They perform on the job. They tend to really want to stay with your company. Even if they could make a few dollars somewhere else, they enjoy being there. That increases employee retention because they are happy in their job. So they have some job satisfaction, and increasing employee retention in turn lowers that turnover rate. Assessments can help provide data to help us do that. We can look at personalities, what people value, kind of if their values are in alignment with our company, maybe with different areas within our company. If somebody values, things are black and white to them, you're either right or wrong, you might want to put them in human resources, you might want to put them in security, you might want to put them in accounting, areas where you don't want somebody to possibly break a gray area or a rule. Behavior, you're going to have to look at people's behavior. Are they going to follow the rules and guidelines if they're around heavy equipment, or if they're working with kids? That's very important. Their competence, do they have the knowledge to be able to do things? You don't want them to mix the wrong chemicals or to do things wrong. Do they have the skills to do certain things within the job? If they don't have the math skills, or if they don't have certain skills, can we provide them with training? Or if they don't have the people skills, should they be working in customer relations? And then do they have the leadership styles or leadership skills to be able to hold down one of those positions, the communication skills, the organization skills, the ability to work in those challenging situations. So all these variety of assessments can provide us data to place people in the right roles to lower that turnover rate, increase employee loyalty and happiness, and increase that employee retention. Because when people leave your company, it costs companies over $10,000 in lost revenue and expenses to hire a new employee. That might seem pretty high, but if you're looking at a career-related employee, you're going to have to advertise the position. You're going to have to take people away to interview, especially if it's an interview committee. While you're doing this, it might take 3-6 months or less maybe, but you never know, to hire somebody. Or you're going to have to pay overtime, or you're going to just have a gap in your organization at that time. So if you're paying overtime, that's time and a half or more. And then are those people going to be dissatisfied, and is their work going to slip on their job? So there's a lot of friction when somebody leaves the organization. So checklists can be used a ton of ways in the workplace. Checklists can be used in all kinds of ways in a variety of places. They can be designed. They're the simplest scoring guide, or you can even consider these more as logs sometimes, because we're just keeping a column. We might initial things, we might time things, we might check things, we might even keep counts in different areas. So they might be just even a list that you make to give to somebody that doesn't do the job on a regular basis, or that we want them to check off that it's done. You might have your daily task of opening and closing a business, or opening and closing an area. Sometimes I had different people, when I was an athletic director, prepare a facility or prepare for a game. You might have a maintenance guy or a custodian gal come in, and they might be usually in a different building, and they would come in and you could just hand them the list. This is the task in the order that they need to be done, because you didn't really have time to walk them through everything. You had your own tasks to do. You might have weekly tasks. What's the order of weekly tasks? Do you have a Monday meeting that you do this, and then Tuesday you go to this community meeting, and then Wednesday you have a leadership meeting, and Thursday you have to meet with the ownership, and Friday you're going to set up for these games, and then Saturday you have these events. What does your weekly task look like? Think about long-term planning. When I was an athletic director, I had 3 different seasons and then summer, and I had to look at all of those kind of were in a cycle, because they all kind of did similar things within a cycle. You had you had to get your facilities ready for practice, your facilities ready for a game, all your people ready for tryouts, all your coaches hired. You went through your season, your games near the end of the season, wrapping up the season, ordering equipment for next year. You were evaluating in that. They all went in a cycle, but then they overlapped because you were getting ready for the next one and getting ready for the next one in summer. But then you always had to look at your long-term plans, what your 1, 3, 5-year plans for your facilities, for your program, for your budget. You had to look at your capital budget. So, there's checklists that you can do for long-term planning. And I always was able to like talk to some other people and make some lists for those. And you would have to, once a week or once every other week, kind of look at those things to make sure that you weren't forgetting something in the future. You might have your individual task, like who does what at what different events. Those might even just be a checklist, and then you divvy them out and hand them out. You might have checklist on if you have a fitness facility, like what do you got to check on equipment, how often do you want to do this maintenance on things, how often do you want to clean things, how do you prepare the facility, what do we got to do to check for safety, how often do we want to run this different cleaning or maintenance check or different things on things. Cleaning logs are always going to be important. Cleanliness is the #1 reason people come to a facility, but you always want your places to be clean. You might want to track data on use of different equipment, and you might even want to use your checklist with your clients. Are we keeping the 1 rep max on somebody? Are we going to keep a log on a client? Are we going to keep our checklists on our people's rehabilitation plans? If we're working with them as an athletic trainer, what if we're a coach? How are we going to keep that different data on different checklists, where if people were in practice, if they were doing their extra things, if they were academically eligible. So we can use checklists in a variety of ways, depending on what our profession is. So here's just an easy example of a workplace checklist. In a fitness center, you might have your opening and closing list. You might have people come down and initial it, their first or last initial. A did this, B did that. Or if you're even grading out people, if they did it as an A or a B, or you might even have what time they did it. Did they vacuum the floors, wipe down the windows and tables, clean the aerobic area, the locker room, the women's comfort room, the men's comfort room. Then you can see above that there was the specific equipments. Did they clean those? So this could be a cleaning log example for a fitness center. Another important thing we need to consider when assessing things in the workplace is doing a risk analysis. And a risk analysis could be as simple as walking around and looking to see if there are any potential risk or hazards in the workplace. Did somebody spill a soda, spill water? Is there a broken machine, a cable? Is there a hole in one of our fields? Is the bathroom dirty? Is there a broken pipe? Is there a leaky faucet? And reporting that to the right people to get those things fixed or cleaned or taking care of it ourselves. But there are some other risk assessments that are a little more complicated than that we might just do on a walk around checklist. A risk assessment is more of a process that companies, businesses, organizations use to identify potential hazards, usually larger hazards that could lead to some legal risk. And then they are going to use that assessment, the initial process, to investigate, to find risks, and then analyze what could happen if that hazard occurs. And then they make a plan, usually an action plan. You've probably made an emergency action plan in a class along the way, to try to respond to that hazard if it does occur, and probably put some policies in place to negate the risk from ever happening if possible, or to lower the risk. A lot of times companies will do this, like I said, through just a risk assessment, an identification process, and then developing their emergency action plan. That's done a lot of times in our sports and wellness industry. There's usually every sports facility is going to have an emergency action plan on file. But some businesses do a thing called a business impact analysis, or a BIA. It's a type of assessment that organizations use to basically analyze risk. And you can put this in different ways, or you can kind of do it in a variety of different things. Do you want to analyze the impact of building a new facility? Do you want to analyze the impact of adding a new program? When you do your SWOT analysis, you can do the same thing. But a lot of times when you're doing this as more of a risk strategy, you're going to look at a variety of hazards. So you're going to look at the main risk. You're going to look at the 3 major categories. One is natural hazards. Natural hazards are things like storms, floods, tornadoes, thunderstorms, snowstorms, the roof gets blown off, there was an accident, things like that. A tree fell down on the electric lines, led to a fire. So anything that's kind of a natural hazard or accident that's just caused by something like a natural occurrence. Sometimes these overlap. The second one is human caused. There was an accident, but there was a person in the vehicle that fell asleep at the wheel, wasn't paying attention. Maybe they were intoxicated, and they caused either some heavy equipment or a vehicle to cause the accident. They might have, there might be a fire that may seem like a natural cause because lightning struck, but it could be somebody started the fire, whether it was on accident or on purpose. So there are human caused hazards. It could be somebody was just negligent in their duties. They, were bringing in a dolly full of drinks and a bottle fell off and spilled and they didn't clean it up, and they started stocking the drinks and forgot about it and somebody slipped and fell. That was a human caused hazard or accident. And then we'll look at the technological hazards. Did our point of sale system go down and then we weren't able to sell things? Did our refrigerator go out and then all of our food went bad? Did we get our computer system get hacked and all the credit card information went out there? Did all of our tournament brackets go down? Did our system get hacked and all of our medical information got stolen? So there's technological hazards too. So those are the three variety of hazards. So the business impact analysis looks at all those risks, and then it depends on how we're looking at it. We're going to look at our rewards. What are the different rewards we get for using these different systems? It could snow during March here in Missouri, so I don't know if we should go ahead and schedule outdoor soccer or softball or baseball tournaments. That's a risk because we might do all this work and we might not get to have the tournament. Well, what's the rewards if we do? Well, if we have the tournament, we're going to have all these tournament entry fees. We're going to make this type of money at the concession stand. We're going to sell this type of merchandise. So we're going to analyze the risk, all the lost wages and time, because once the tournament gets canceled, the teams aren't going to be around, or the rewards of the potential revenue streams. So using that business impact analysis to analyze if you want to schedule those tournaments in March, even in Missouri when it could snow or be really cold, you'll identify all the risks. You're going to detail all the hazards, the costs, your potential losses. Then you're going to consider all the potential rewards, the benefits, the revenue, the potential income for the company. And you're going to analyze those to balance them and see which one the balance shifts to and determine your course of action. So that's how you use a business impact analysis as a risk assessment tool and use it as a strategy. Another assessment that can be put to use in a variety of ways, it's more of just a framework to make educated business decisions through a thoughtful assessment and analysis process to make data-driven decisions, is a SWOT analysis. So a SWOT is an acronym. SWOT analysis is used to assess strengths and weaknesses. It can be done on an organization. It can be used by an organization in analyzing different decisions that they're going to make to determine the risk and rewards of something they're considering and then making a decision as well. So it's not just analyzing a business, it might be analyzing a decision that they want to make in the future. So since SWOT's an acronym, that means the first letter is probably going to make a word. SWOT stands for something that's SWOT, and it's strengths is the S, W is for weaknesses, O is for opportunities, and T is for threats. So we're going to break that down. We're going to look at, if we're analyzing a business, we're going to look at their strengths. What are they really good at? We're going to look at their weaknesses. Oh, where could they have some improvement? We're going to look at the opportunities. Well, what is there, just if they could do one or two little things better, or what are they kind of missing? Maybe one employee gets a little trained, maybe they add this. Where's there an opportunity for them to really make some money and shine? And that could be overcoming a slight weakness, maybe adding something, or accentuating their strengths. So it falls somewhere in there. And then a threat is usually plays off of a weakness or something that they're completely missing because they have blinders on. That's something that they could probably, is a major risk. And it could come from that human, the natural, the technological, and it's probably something that could lead to a major lawsuit or completely close the business. Or if you're analyzing a decision, it's like, ooh, that's a big threat. We probably don't want to do that. We could lose a lot of revenue. That makes us a totally bad decision. So that's how you break down the 4 phases or 4 parts of the SWOT analysis. So SWOT analysis can be used to help an organization make a variety of important business decisions. I'll go over an example on the next slide. So once again, it's a framework. It's not necessarily a analysis that's used for one specific thing. It's a framework in decision making, and it helps you use qualitative. It's not usually quantitative. It's not numbers. It's usually more qualitative data, and put it into this framework, and then help you analyze some risk and rewards in making a decision, and pulling all kinds of things together to then make some kind of plan moving forward. And when we're talking about a gap analysis is when you take all of those parts of your SWOT analysis and you make your plan moving forward to fill in the gaps. So the SWOT analysis, it's the basis for developing a gap analysis. A gap analysis is going to be the business improvement plan based on your SWOT analysis, and it's going to help you overcome your weaknesses, try to reduce or eliminate your threats, and accentuate your strengths, and try to find those opportunities and maximize the gains of those. People will call that low-hanging fruit. We just got to do a little bit to grab that low-hanging fruit. We don't have to really get up on a ladder. We don't have to get another friend to help us. It's just right there for us to grab and make some revenue. So we want to maximize our ability to grab that low-hanging fruit or our opportunities. So we'll use the SWOT framework, the SWOT analysis, about making a business decision. And this is one I found online. Say we're a company, and we're a company that we're looking at a government contract. We want to determine if we want to try to chase this or acquire this government contract. And if it does, it's worth millions of dollars to our company. Say we're a health company, and if we get this government health contract to provide health services to the government, we're going to make millions of dollars in revenue on it, and then we'll be in the government pipeline to get future contracts. So what are the strengths of chasing this government contract? What are the advantages? Why would we be good at it? Why would it be good for us? So this is how we use this framework in making a future business decision. So we have a creative team with an impressive list of technical skills. They have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to probably make this contract work for us. We would be really impressive doing it. We would do good work. Our team would really like to do it. We're well versed in the healthcare business side of this project. We have some former executives and business consultants that are, it's right up their alley. I think we don't have to go out and hire new people or anything like that. It fits our business profile. And we have the financial resources necessarily to participate in this project. I don't think we're really going to have to expand. It just, like I said, it fits our profile. What are the weaknesses? So we looked at our strengths, but let's look at our weaknesses real quick. Our human resources, they're kind of already strained on our existing projects. They're going to have to do a lot of work on preparing this contract because there are lawyers and accountants that work in that department, and making sure that we get our travel stuff together because this is kind of out of the area. They're going to get strained on working on this because it's a lot of dotting the I's and crossing the T's on contracts. Next point plays right into it. Geographically, we're kind of removed from the potential customer base headquarters with this government contract. So how's that going to work with us? Are we going to have to move some people up there? That might lead to us having to hire people if people don't want to move. Our employees might not be happy about that. Do they want to go away from our families? Is it going to cost us a lot of money, or can we do a lot of that virtually now? Not really sure until we get the contract. We're not that politically connected, and this is a government contract. That's a weakness, but does that turn into an opportunity for us? Are we going to have to maybe get a consultant to come in that has political ties to help us navigate that? Our top people, they really like being creative. So although our strength is in this area, if we take this contract, it's a 5-year contract, are they going to get burned out on doing it? They like doing tasks and being big picture thinkers and getting things rolling for people and really consulting and then kind of moving on to the next thing. So are they going to get burned out on being repetitive? So there's strengths, there's our weaknesses. What are the opportunities? How could it really help us? The government contract can bring in a lot of revenue, multi-million-dollar. It can help us increase our sales, increase our revenues. If we need to hire some new people, if we maybe need to expand into that new market, it could really increase our profile. Once we get in this government pipeline, we're probably going to be able to serve more government contracts. We'll understand the process. We'll start getting that politically connectivity. It could open a lot of doors for us. And then listing this project in our portfolio, being a wellness provider for this government contract, it's going to pull us in a lot of more public organizations. It's probably going to pull us in a lot more business. This could really expand our base operations and make us a lot of money in the 3, 5, 10-year plan. So what are the big threats? What are the risks? We could lose our old customers because we're going to focus on this big project. Oh, that could cost us. Our travel costs, man, they could be really high because we're not sure how much of this is going to be virtual. Are we going to have to fly people back and forth? Are we going to actually have to open an office near the new headquarters? Are our people not going to want to move? They're going to be away from their family. It could be a threat. And then we could spend all this time chasing the contract, bidding, doing all this, put all this financial strain on our people, maybe even get some people excited about it. And if we don't get the contract, all that's lost. So, I mean, we could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and not get a penny out of it. So that could be a big threat. So when you think about that, it just brings you and makes you think of all the different things, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It makes you get qualitative data on all of them, and then helps you make a data-driven decision if you're going to determine if you want to chase this government contract. So when we talk about employee evaluations, that's usually an employee performance evaluation. There's all kinds of different ways we can go about it. Usually a supervisor is going to do the evaluation. There might be some kind of self-analysis involved in it. There's all kinds of different ways they can be created. They might be done to determine if people get promotions, if they actually stay on after a probationary period, if they move from one position to another, one level to another. But there's usually some kind of employee self-evaluation in a professional position. There's usually a manager or supervisor evaluation. There's usually going to be some kind of performance data taken, hopefully. And then you're going to get all of those people, the manager or multiple managers, if you have multiple people supervise and do the observation and evaluation, the employee together, and you're going to have a meeting. And you're going to discuss that performance assessment, because that's what it should be all about. And then you're going to provide some kind of follow-up, some acknowledgement where you're at, and determine if we can move you forward because your strengths take you over here, or what kind of training do we need to have. And then we're going to set some goals to move forward and move on to the next level of the evaluation, which is possibly the next year. So employee evaluation should be about consistent evaluation and improvement to help you improve with the task of your job, and the focus should be on helping you be the best you can be. So employee evaluations are assessments that are used to evaluate individual employee performance. It may include some kind of checklist. It may have some kind of rubric style evaluation process. It may have a narrative. It may have some qualitative and some quantitative data. It may be annually. Sometimes they're more frequently. There's some observations along the way. There's a quarterly check-in. But remember, it should be driven on improvement, and it shouldn't really be punitive. And if you have employees that are just kind of afraid of the process, they don't want to be honest in it, and then there's not that honest communication, and people aren't honest with their weaknesses, it becomes, oh, my manager's out to get me. So you need to have honest and open communication, and this needs to be more of a regular process for it to actually be productive and help people be the best they can be. So if you build a good evaluation program that focuses on the right thing, and you discuss how this is really to help people improve and advance, then it can help employees really shine. So it helps highlight strengths, and it actually determines some weakness areas, and that would be areas that we could target for improvement with some training and professional development. And it helps us put people in the right place. We want to get people in the right job responsibilities. So this is done for individual employees. So we want to consider strengths. That's for effective placement and alignment and assignment of job responsibilities for employees. We could determine if we want to move somebody into a leadership role or to put people in the right places. We want people that have those communication skills and are extroverted and really go above and beyond and like to be involved with customers, working with customers. We want people that have that type A, got to get things done, work on tasks. People like that are good with organization and strict deadlines. But we want people that are really thoughtful and consider how other people feel. We want and have some empathy. We want them working with people that may need to be in a caring role. So we want people in the right roles. So we need to consider those strengths for that. We need to consider weaknesses areas as well for placement. And we need to consider those as targets for improvement. We need to consider training, professional development, possibly assigning a mentor that is strong in those areas and can help this employee overcome that. So those are important areas, as well as we don't want to put people in areas that they're not very good at. You want to put people in areas that they have a chance to be successful, because everybody wants to feel competent. They want to feel like they can be successful. They don't want to go into a job where they know they're not going to be very good because they don't have the skill set. So employee evaluations can be used as a basis for continuous employment. You might have to do this, this, and this, and meet this performance review to get your benefits after 90 days, or to stay on at an annual review, or to get your contract renewed if you're in a contracted position, to earn a promotion, to earn advancement, to earn bonuses, to earn pay raises. So there's all kinds of different things that employee evaluations can be used for. So evaluations are also used in school districts. They are used for a variety of different positions. So, there's evaluations for bus drivers, cafeteria workers, food service providers, paraprofessionals, everybody. But we'll talk about the DESE approved evaluation assessments, and we'll focus in on the one for teachers since we have physical educators in our class. So there are 3 different approved evaluation assessment instruments that DESE, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education here in Missouri, has approved. You can use the MEAS, the NEE program, or a district's own PBTE program that has to be approved by DESE. So I'll go over each of those real quick. The MEAS is the Missouri Educator Evaluation System. It was developed by DESE 7 years ago. It was actually just reformulated again this year in 2023. It evaluates teachers and teacher candidates on the 9 Missouri teaching standards, and each of these has like substandards, and the substandards were the only thing that really changed this year. And you're basically evaluated on a 4-point scale as well as with a 0. So there's basically a rubric, and you're going to be evaluated on that multiple times, like a formative and then a summative. So all the teacher candidates, your student teaching experience, you're evaluated on the MEAS, every student teacher in the state of Missouri. And then a lot of school districts will also use this MEAS with their teachers. Another program is the NEE program, the Network for Educator Effectiveness. This was developed about 15 years ago by the University of Missouri Extension Program. It evaluates 9 performance indicators, and those are directly aligned with the 9 Missouri teaching standards. The only things that it's slightly different is their substandards are slightly different. They're really close, but they're not directly aligned. They might have a few other ones involved there. And it's a real similar program. You'll have several formative evaluations along the way and a summative evaluation. But it also adds different components. If our assessment program, our final project here, is built off of one of their components that can be employed with teachers called a unit of instruction. So I took the assessment portion of the unit of instruction and turned that into our signature assignment, our final project for this class, and tweaked it a little bit, and that is our assessment plan. There are several other components that can be used along with this NEE with just your observations of classroom teaching to determine your different levels of effectiveness as a teacher. And then school districts can also develop their own. They can develop their own performance-based teacher evaluation system that usually has some kind of component of self-evaluation, a administrator evaluating a teacher in the classroom, as well as possibly evaluating some lesson plans and some unit plans and some assessment plans and some different things, maybe turning in their professional development plan. But the school district has to get turn that into DESE, and DESE has to approve their plan for them to be able to use it. But each school can develop their own. So all 3 of these system types have a supervisor evaluation component. They must have one. Most of them also include a self-evaluation component that is done, and that's usually done and then combined in a meeting with the supervisor evaluation component. They have different assessments, all right? So school districts can have different assessments for teachers, principals, assistant principals, athletic directors, the building level administrators, counselors, district level administrators like superintendents, human resource directors, secondary elementary directors, special education coordinators. So there's different types of assessments that fit within each of these programs based on your position. So most employee evaluation programs are going to have several components. The first one is going to be an observation. They're going to watch you on the job. So you're going to have a supervisor do that, and they're going to keep some kind of data. It might be quantitative where they keep numbers, or it might be qualitative where they keep some kind of narrative. It might be on a checklist, it might be on a rubric. A lot of the evaluation programs are going to have some kind of checklist or rubric that has the skills listed out, or the specific KSAs, knowledge, skills, and abilities that you should have, or job responsibilities, and they're going to have some kind of Likert scale, and they're going to rank you on them, and then maybe have an area for comments. A lot of companies or organizations will have you do a self-evaluation on this. So the self-evaluation is focused on self-awareness. A lot of times it's going to be for you to make some comments, set some personal goals. That's really the idea. Is you should look at this evaluation instrument at the beginning of the cycle, set some goals. If you've never been there, if you've been at the company and you've got an evaluation, you should look at your scores at that year, set a baseline, and then set some personal goals on which ones to improve for the following year. This allows an employee to showcase their goals, their goal setting, and then their most significant achievements. And when you write in your comments, you can emphasize what you've done and why these accomplishments matter to you, and you can compare and analyze your scores from a previous year if this is your second set of data. The biggest thing is, for this to be effective, an employer has to ask employees to be honest, they have to acknowledge where there are some challenges and areas. So if people just go down and you're ranking 1 to 4 and 4 being the highest, and they just go down and rank themselves 4 because I'm the best employee and I don't want to admit weakness, or I don't want my supervisor to get mad at me, or whatever the case, or then I don't want to look bad in the eyes of the boss or possibly get fired. Well, that's not being honest, because nobody's at 4 everywhere generally. There's always going to be some area for improvement. So you need employees to be honest and acknowledge some challenges in specific areas. And when they do, have them already critically think before they come meet you and offer some kind of plan or ideas to improve their performance, and even have some goals set for that before they meet and do the employee and supervisor meeting to discuss the assessment tools. Self-assessments, they're usually compared to a supervisor's evaluation component. It's usually done in a meeting. It should be part of an open and honest discussion. And most companies usually consider that part of the overall process. And if there's a big discrepancy in scores, somebody should have some consideration and discuss why the scores are different and possibly tweak those in the final evaluation part. What I did though is, a lot of times when I filled out my supervisor assessment, I did it on purpose sometimes just to elicit some conversation. But if I really didn't know, because it was some things I didn't see, I would leave them blank. I might have in my mind where I thought they were, but I wanted the employee to tell me what they did before I would rank them. Because there were some things you just might not know, you might not see in the job. It provided an opportunity for us to have dialogue in that meeting. As a supervisor, I always looked at myself as a leader. I was coaching my employees to be better. I was there, if my employees failed, I failed. So it was my job to help them get better. So I took our evaluation process as an opportunity for improvement for everybody, and for them to tell me what I could do to help them improve. So we had that conversation, and usually by the end of the first year, by year 2, we had a lot more fluid, honest, and open communication, but it's not always that way. The supervisor completed assessments are going to focus, if you have a good self-evaluation process, you use the same tool. The supervisor focuses on those same important areas of performance. There's a Likert scale. I have a Likert scale down here at the bottom. If you don't remember what that is, it's going to be, usually you go, 1 through 4. A lot of times you don't want to do that. You want to have a 5 or a 7 or whatever the case. A narrative might be included as well. I used to always have a narrative or an area for comments where you could provide additional or specific information for performance area. If it was really low or really high, you should probably have a comment in there. If it was way different than the year before, there should be a comment. Or if you already knew you had some idea to how to improve or a goal for next year, that should be in the comments as well on your self-evaluation. So it requires a supervisor to make some kind of judgment on an employee's performance. So when you do that, you got to figure out why you're judging them. Are you using some kind of data in the process? It depends on what kind of field you're in. Are you using some kind of observation? If I was evaluating coaches, was I watching practices? Was I watching games? Was I going to their team meetings? Like, how was I observing some of the things on a coaching evaluation program? Was I looking to see if they turned in different things on time, if they did their coaching tests on time, did they did the officials evaluations on time, if they turned their stats in on time? That was a way to also use data in the process. And then having that dialogue between the supervisor and employee. It wasn't just in that end of year meeting. I had regular meetings and regular discussions with my employees. And if you really want this process to be good, it needs to be an ongoing process. It can't just be a once or twice a year thing. This back and forth dialogue of observation, discussion, the evaluative thought for improving performance should be constantly ongoing. So I know I gave you a lot of these. They should be in your portfolio, but if you go to the Module 9 page on Canvas, there is a document page. and you can look down through these. You can download these and save them on a USB drive or in your cloud. There's a lot of different documents for our career-related and assessments that can be used in the professional workplace. If you look, we have our Leadership Compass self-assessment, have a sample risk assessment template, a business impact analysis guide, several SWOT templates that you could use to use the strength, weakness, and opportunities and threats framework. I have a coach's evaluation scoring guide and coach's evaluation instrument. If you don't have those, we're going to talk about those next. I'll show you a quick picture, but hopefully you can, if you have those around, you can pull those out and use those as I talk through them. And then if you're a teacher, there's teacher evaluation and assessment documents. You should look at the DESE teacher evaluation guide, the MEAS teacher assessment scoring guide, and the MEAS teacher assessment evaluation instrument, because you will be seeing that when you get evaluated during student teaching. So these are all located on the Module 9 document page. The far right one is the MEAS Teacher Candidate Assessment Rubric, and it shows you the different scoring here. There's a 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and to be skilled and to pass, basically when you're student teaching, you need to be in the 3 out of 4, which is skilled. So that talks just about standard 1, and if you look up and down it kind of gives you a definition of what it is, and then these are all these substandards underneath it, and it kind of details or gives you a narrative what your observer is going to look for when they're observing you. The other two documents here is what I'm going to talk about next, an employee evaluation, and this is an employee evaluation program that I was the chair and did most of the legwork on building when I worked at the Ferguson-Florissant School District. We had 3 schools, and I'll go over the process here in a minute, but we needed to build we all 3 had different coaches evaluation instruments, and we were tasked with building a common one for all of us to use. So we went through this and picked out our critical aspects. As you can see, administrative duties, leadership, coaching management, coaching philosophy, and then it went down to the second page. And then we had rankings here, 1, 2, 3, and 4 in NA. And then over here, this is actually the scoring rubric or scoring guide with look-fors and how you got in each category based on our critical aspects or critical components. And it kind of had to be vague because we were looking at different sports, but we kind of had to give like a big kind of cushion in there because basketball, football was going to be different than tennis and swimming. But we went down here. There was going to be some NAs for some sports, and then we even left some blanks. And then when we get down further, I'll explain how we even did some goal setting. All right, so if you have an opportunity, you might screenshot this so you can see what I'm talking about. You might not be able to, but I did hand this out to you before break, and hopefully if you got your portfolio handy, or if not, it's in the Module 9 document page, and that's that coach's evaluation instrument. So when I was at Ferguson-Florissant School District, I was the athletic director at McClure High School. We had three different school districts. We were all kind of different sizes, actually had different dynamics. A few didn't all have the same sports. We were had a little bit different philosophies in how we ran our programs. So when we were there, we got tasked with a new human resources director to develop a common athletic coaches evaluation instrument, because we all evaluated them. We all did a similar process. We did the coaches did a self-evaluation. We did a observation as a supervisor. We sat down and had a meeting, and then we determined if we were going to retain them or not. Coaches and contracts in Missouri are 1 year renewable. You can't, at the high school level in the state of Missouri, give people multi-year contracts, and they are not protected by union guidelines, state teachers union guidelines. The courts have said they're an extra duty position, so they do not fall under that. So they're 1 year renewable. They're not tenure protected or anything like that. So the three athletic directors, and I got put as the chair because I had the national certification and more experience with this than anybody. The HR director brought us in, tasked us with this. They had us bring in a committee of several coaches from each school, some of larger sports, some from team sports, some from individual sports, some from the smaller sports, some from male sports, female sports. So we kind of had a cross section about equally of those things and equal from the different schools. And they did ask for us to have, and we were pretty heavily unionized school district, union representatives. And we kind of discussed that with the HR director, that we did not want to give the auspice that we were going to follow union guidelines and do anything that was not approved by the courts. And because we couldn't. And he understood that as well. And he said, well, we want to have some union representation as a sign of good faith, but we're only going to do that if they are coaches. And we said, okay, well, we want to know which ones they are, and we want to make sure that they understand that even though the teachers union protects the teachers, and I was in the teachers union before, as administrators can't be in the teachers union, and as an athletic director, you're an administrator. But we had to make them understand that coaching contracts are not protected by any union protections before we get started. So we did that and explained that and the legality of that. And actually all the coaches that were in the union understood that, and there wasn't really a debate, but we needed to make that part of the conversation before we got going. Our goal was to devise an instrument that we all could agree on, that we thought was going to be based on a self and a supervisor assessment model that was going to be used for helping improve our programs to have the best programs we could. We didn't want it to be like critical, or we wanted it to be comprehensive, follow all the major critical components, but develop plans for improvement so we could just have that constant, regular thought of continuous evaluation and improvement of our program, so we could all reflect and continue to improve to get better for our student athletes. So when we got done, we presented this product to our school board to get formal approval. We got the blessing of the teachers union, although we didn't need it. We detailed it in our coaches' handbooks. We distributed it along with the contracts to coaches prior to their employment that they signed, so they knew what they were going to get evaluated on. We determined we were going to use a 4-point Likert scale, so we just didn't get people in the middle with an NA, because since there are all kinds of coaching positions, there are some NAs, some not applicables you would have for different positions. We determined our critical components based on education-based athletic programs, and then we determined our various subcomponents under each one based on the programs we had, and then we left some blanks that we could add based on specific programs. Either the coaches could add them or we could add them, or they could be added in for our areas for improvement. We also added, if you can see over to the right, 2 areas for professional growth. So we wouldn't have it the first time we did it with somebody, but from there on out, we would have a growth target, and then we would keep data and statistics and on it for the next year, and it could be quantitative or qualitative, and then we would rotate those off and get new ones for the following year. So that helped us have that plan for continuous improvement. We had that rubric, which I showed you on the last page, which detailed some performance expectations and helped guide us in how we would rank people. It used a self and supervisor assessment model. So here's where it was tricky. If they had assistant coaches, the assistant coach would evaluate themselves, and the head coach was responsible for doing the supervisor portion. So then when I had the meeting, I would go over with the head coach each of their assistant coaches and how each of those meetings went before we ever talked about their self-evaluation of themselves and my supervisor evaluation, and then after that we did a programmatic discussion. So if they had 5, 6, 7 assistant coaches, if they had a big program, that meeting might be an hour and a half or so at the end of the year, but we were going to discuss everything. All right, so it was a very good plan. Thought it was put together really well. We considered our critical components. We based our subcomponents well. We thought of our Likert scale. Our rubric was well developed. We thought of having our improvement plans. I think all 3 of the schools were really happy with it. It gave the coaches a real good structure on what the expectations were when they came into our program. So now that we've discussed annual performance reviews and how they can be done with observations, self-evaluations, supervisor evaluations, understanding the different critical components that go into it, we're going to develop an annual performance review for a professional employee in our career field. All right, we've developed holistic rubrics before, and that's the kind that has several levels, and then you're writing a narrative. So it's not the task specific one where you have all these different performance indicators. You're going to write a narrative. So they're going to have performance indicators, but it's going to kind of be in some bullet point forms underneath. Some of them are in a paragraph form, but we do it a little different, so it makes it easier to follow and easier for me to grade. So first of all, you can review page 77 to 79 of the textbook if you don't remember much about your holistic rubrics, or you can look up a holistic rubric in your portfolio or your notes. So you'll start by listing your professional career title, and I want that to be really specific. Choose any professional career in the physical education, teaching, athletic, wellness, health and human performance related field, but I need you to list the specific position. So by specific, I mean head basketball coach at the college level, or athletic trainer at high school, or physical therapy assistant, or high school PE teacher, elementary PE teacher, personal trainer at a fitness center, or recreation center manager, or fitness center manager. So I need you to be pretty specific on these. And then you're going to develop 4 levels of performance. So come up with your levels of performance and your title for each level. Remember, the highest level of performance is listed first. So you level 4, put level 4, and then give us your title. Is it excellent? That's fine. So then level 1 is going to be level 1, and it's going to be needs improvement, or whatever your title is, and it's going to be the lowest level of performance. So you have to have 4 levels. Under each level, you're going to select 5 of the most important job-related criteria for this position. So don't give me just 5 all over the place. If you pick PE teacher, what are the 5 most important job skills that a PE teacher has to have? So think about that, and that's your criteria. So remember, your criteria are going to be the same on each level. And then you're going to describe each of those criteria on how it fits the level. So whatever your criteria number 1 is, it's number 1 under each level, but you're going to describe it, what it looks for, what quality, what excellent looks like for criteria number 1. Try to make it descriptive. Try to use some kind of quantitative language. Can you use some numbers sometimes? You can't always use numbers in a holistic employee review, but can sometimes you say 3/4 of the time, or 70, can you turn in your reports on time 95% of the time with accuracy? Some of them need to have some kind of quantitative language, and some other times you need to have some qualitative language, but you need to describe them and then describe that same number 1 criteria in level 3 and describe it a little bit less, all right? So here's your assignment format. Head college basketball coach, title, level 4, excellent. List the level number and then the level name. Then you're going to list the 5 most important job-related criteria or critical components. I want you to number them 1 through 5 under level 4. Just keep them in order. And then make sure you provide a descriptive enough sentence or bullet point for each one that a scorer can choose this level instead of the next level down. Right? All you're doing, you don't change the job criteria or critical component between levels. You just change how you describe success to match the level. Try to use that number quantitative language if you can, with numbers or percents for some of them. Sometimes it's got to be more qualitative or descriptive language. Just depends on the skills. I am looking that you put the most important job criteria. If you give me just some fluff ones or they're not the critical components, you're going to lose some points. That's what I'm evaluating this on as well. So you'll do this: level 4, excellent; level 3, proficient. I want you don't have to use my titles. And then you'll continue down level 2 and level 1. Post this to Canvas by Wednesday, November 29th at 8 p.m. You cannot, you've done something similar to this before, you cannot do something that's very close to it. It's got to be something completely new. If you've done something on athletic trainer, you can't do athletic trainer. You can do a physical therapist, but you can't do anything to do with athletic training. All right, so you need to switch up. If you've done one, I'm going to look back. Don't have anything. You've done something really close to this before. So that was your assignment, annual performance review. And all I'm going to do now is go over your assignments and information on the test here. Make sure you know what's coming up. Module 9, class and assignment schedule. So Tuesday, November 28th, that was this virtual lecture. Your Module 9 journal activities due November 28th at 8 p.m. That's just your active notes from watching this lecture. Your assignment annual performance review is due Wednesday, November 29th at 8 p.m. Both of those assignments are listed in Canvas and they're active and live. This Thursday, November 30th, meet in our regular classroom at regular time. Jason Hall, 212 at 1 p.m. Don't be late. Be in PE clothes, so make sure you have tennis shoes on. No flip-flops or slides or sandals or boots. I know it's cold outside. You can have some sweats and stuff on, but once you get in the gym, you need to be able to move around. So don't have a skirt or anything. It's a motor perception lab. So you're going to meet with Coach Oleschlager in the classroom, and then he'll determine where you're going to go do the lab based on availability. It'll either be in the dance studio or gym. But meet in the classroom first. He's going to go over the information first for about 10 minutes. Remember, you're going to be a participant and an assessor. So when you're done with the lab, you're going to submit your assessment worksheet where you assess 1 or 2 partners. Make sure your name's clearly written on the top of it, and you're going to hand that to Coach O before you leave on Thursday, November 30th. And if you're not there, you can't do it, obviously. So you need to be there and be on time and be attentive. Please be attentive with my guest presenter. And then you're going to do an online lab review. You can go ahead and look at this early, but you don't really have to. It's due Friday, December 1st at 8 p.m. and that's on Canvas. It's active and live and ready to look at if you want to look at it prior to the lab. The following week on Tuesday, December 5th, you'll meet in the classroom once again at 1 p.m. It's in class with our head athletic trainer from Lincoln University, Josh Thompson. Please be on time. Please be attentive. You don't have to wear PE clothes, but he's going to need a few volunteers. So people that do have tennis shoes and shorts or sweatpants on, where he can have you assist showing, volunteering some of the athletic training assessments would be great. But bring something to take notes. Stay off of your phones. Pay attention to Josh for me. He's doing a guest. Don't have him get a hold of me and tell me you got up and left class, you weren't there, you showed up late, you're on your phone. Be a professional for me, please. Make sure you look at the online lab review prior to that lab, so you know what you're looking for. You're going to look for assessments. You're going to have to name exact assessment types, what they are assessing, and describing them, as well as some other things in that assessment. You should be taking notes because it's going to be more kind of a classroom lecture discussion based, and that lab review is going to be due Wednesday, December 6th. So those Thursday 11:30 and Tuesday 12:05 are in class, regular time. Thursday, December 7th, there's no class meeting. Once again, no class meeting. That will be your time off to have the Unit 3 exam, but the Unit 3 exam is open as of Monday, November 27th. No, I'm sorry. It's open Monday December 4th. So you'll have all week to do that exam, but it is due Thursday, December 7th at 8 p.m. And I'll go over the exam on the next page. So the exam format, there's 40 selected response questions, which means it's multiple choice and true and false. I don't think there's any fill in the blanks, but there might be a couple. If there are, you're going to have to wait for me to put in the grade before you get your final grade. 2 minutes per question, so that means there's 80 minutes. Make sure you study beforehand. You're not going to have time to look it up, so study just like you're coming to do an NC class. You do have access to your notes. All this stuff's going to be from your notes. There is stuff from the Fitnessgram in the book, but everything is going to be directly, all the exam questions are going to be written off of our in-class presentations. The exam information, we cover Module 8, Assessing Fitness, and Module 9, Professional and Career-Related Assessments. So nothing's really, you'll supplement it a little bit with maybe your labs, but you don't need to wait till your labs are done to take the test. So normal safeguards and timeline, the test is timed. You get 2 minutes per question. Once the timer starts, it's going to get going, so make sure you have some good stable internet. There's no backtracking, so once you answer a question, it's locked in. It's an independent assessment. Don't phone a friend, use a friend, but you do have access to your books. But once again, like I said, study, try to take it on a regular device, not your phone. The test opens Monday, December 4th at 8 a.m. You have several days to do it. It closes, and there is a deadline. I'm not going to open it up again late. It closes Thursday, December 7th at 8 p.m. So that's your Unit 3 exam. It's just over those 2 modules. Good luck on that. Make sure you study up a little bit, and everything is right off of Module 8 or Module 9. And the last thing, last but not least, I want to remind you of your Module 10 culminating assignments. We already did the portfolio prior to Thanksgiving. Your scores are posted. Good job on those. Most of them were done really well. Your signature assignment, the assessment plan, it's due Sunday, December 3rd. So hopefully you're either seeing this early or it's a reminder that it's coming up. So I have one turned in so far, but pay attention to that. The instructions and template are on Canvas. If you can't get the template to work, just make sure you follow the template closely in a word processing document so it looks a lot like the template. Make sure you use Roman numerals and numbers and everything, and it looks really close to the template. But otherwise, if you use a template, that's the best way to go. Don't wait until the last minute. It's going to take you several hours to do it. It's a challenging application-based assignment that pulls everything together. Don't try to import assignments you've already done into it. This is a new independent. Everything has to be new. It can't be based on previous assignments. You're going to be doing things you did in previous assignments. You'll have the knowledge, skills, and ability to do this, to apply those skills if you learn them throughout the class. If you don't have any idea what you're doing when you get to this, you didn't probably meet the course learning objectives. But most of us are doing really well in this class, so I think you're going to do well in this. But take the time. There's not a comprehensive test in this class. I don't do a big final that pulls everything together. I do an application-based project to make you apply the skills, and this is really real-life stuff. This is based off of a program, like I said earlier in this presentation. This is based off of the NEE unit of instruction, part of a teacher's assessment tool. So the deadline is Sunday, December 3rd. If you turn it in late, there will be late penalties. So take some time, follow the directions closely, get it done early, get away from it, come back, proofread it, go through the rubric, see what you missed, update it, and then turn it in. Then your last thing is your course post test. It's open Monday, December 4th, so it's open for like 8 days, 10 days. You don't have to wait till Tuesday, December 12th. Don't be a last minute person. Be organized and get it done early. You'll have had all the information to do this. Complete it on Canvas. It's due Tuesday, December 12th at the latest at 8 p.m., but don't wait till that last minute. It is basically the course pre-test. You're going to take this again. There's going to be some scores, so even when you get your score, I'm going to have to go back and grade those fill in the blanks. When you get your final score back, you need to analyze that based on your pre-test and determine how well you did, how much you learned in the class. And everybody always does better at the end because you've learned things. And these are the big picture questions. If you really want to study it for it, you can glance through your portfolio and read through it. But these are the questions on there are things that you should know, most of them, because we went over them many, many times in class. All right, so good luck on your post-test. Make sure you spend some time and set aside some time for that signature assignment, the assessment plan. And thanks for attending the virtual lecture. Hopefully it worked for you. I know sometimes technology can be challenging, so I think the movie route's the best way.